Hello everybody. Today I'm going to do some work on another Satsuki Azalea. This one is a getsutoku. These kind of, you can see they have kind of a pretty big leaf on them. They also have a pretty good size flower. So I'm going to try to make this into a larger bonsai eventually, just to bring that scale in. A lot of the other Satsukis have much smaller leaves and much smaller flowers, and they look good small. I don't think this variety would really look fantastic small, real small. So this was pruned once when it was first put in this pot, just lightly to get rid of a few things. It's got some pretty good structure inside. So I'm just going to be going through and, you know, cleaning up the structure as usual. I got some weird branches. I don't think it's necessary to wire these. There's other branches there that can be used. Yeah, I guess that's about it. So I'll get started. Alright, so here we go. Right away I can see there's a few little suckers down here going out of the trunk. I don't want those. I'm going to take those right off. As I mentioned, there's these pretty wild branches just kind of shooting straight down. I don't want those either. So I'll take those off. There's another one here going straight down. Take that away. Looks like this tip is dead. Take that away. I think that's about it for major branches. I'm just going to start from the tips and just take away. Here I've got a 3, got one facing straight up. Not really going to be taking off a lot of this year's growth at this point. Here's another junction of 3. Take the top one off. Same thing here. Same thing here. At this point I feel like this side trunk here is much straighter, and this will actually end up being my apex somewhere in here. So this will be the shorter trunk. I'm considering this to be a secondary trunk. So back at the base of this branch here is a junction that's got, well, I guess it's only 3. I'm going to take this big one right out. That's significantly shortened that trunk. Some branches growing towards the inside off of that trunk as well. Get rid of those. Got 2 suckers here coming out of this major junction. Take those out. Another little tiny one coming out under there. And there's this one here that's crossing into the middle. It's actually a junction of 4. Cut the one two that are growing the most straight up. Same kind of a situation in here. The branch here really long. Certainly going to take this one growing straight up away. I think I'm going to leave the long one. Dead stub in here. Get that off. Starts to get pretty messy up here in the middle. Got what I say is the main trunk crossing right over top of this whole section of the secondary trunk. Kind of thinking I might take this whole vertical branch here right out and just keep this bit. Yep. I'm going to take this branch right off. This little one here too. There's a branch on the back side. Take my knob cutter and clean this stub up. That's pretty good. Okay. Now on the main trunk here, it's another 3. Take this one that's going to that side away. There's a little twig here going straight towards the inside. There's another sucker I missed down here at the base of the trunk. Really major branch out here in the back. Also still has a 3. Just remove one that's growing up. I think that's about where I'm going to leave it. Alright, so I've reduced all of the older branches down to groups of 2. There's still some branches in some odd places that may not be there in the long term, but there's nothing that's, you know, causing structural flaws. I'm not going to be getting inverse swelling or anything like that. Kind of, you know, as I say, I chose this one as the apex, and I've reduced this secondary trunk somewhat. Like I say, I want this tree to grow out a lot, so I'm not really going to be, you know, like, if this was a smaller tree, I would cut a lot of these long shoots back and just let them bud out, you know, if the profile was much smaller. But this tree hasn't really reached the profile that I'm going to be going for with it. So I really don't have a need to cut the branches back at this point. I may decide to put a few pieces of wire here and there, but I'm not even sure that it needs it. So the last thing I'll do is seal up all my cuts as usual, and I haven't reduced any of the tips of the branches. So most of these branches have 3 or more at the tips, and I generally won't reduce those until deadheading season next year. I don't find that it really causes swelling that doesn't, you know, just go away in a season or 2 once you pruned it down, but it'll give you more flowers. You know, these branch tips are where my flowers are going to be for next spring. If I reduce it down to 2 now, I'm just going to have less flowers next year. So that's why I leave it. You know, maybe on a more refined tree, someone would want to, you know, keep those down, but I like to just leave them, get the extra flowers, and then reduce them after it flowers in the spring next year. Oh, one last thing. I made a video with some cuttings the other day. I'll be making another one because this tree, as it flowered at least a few weeks before the last azalea I was working on, this shoot here is this year's growth, and this is excellent material for making cuttings. The cuttings that I make from this tree will actually be this season's growth, and I'm pretty confident that lots of these cuttings will take. So I'll probably make a short video about that again. Maybe I'll use a different media to plant them in, see what happens. Maybe I'll try a few different ones. So anyway, I'm just going to finish this up, and thanks for watching. See you next time.